So, have you ever felt like your brain thinks in webs, but you're stuck living in a world that's all about straight lines? Today, we're jumping right into that disconnect, a challenge that so many people face. Let's get into it. You know this feeling, right? You've got this amazing idea. You can see the final result, that's step 10, so clearly. And you know exactly where you need to start. That's your step 1. But everything else, all those steps in between, it's just a thick, confusing, and honestly kind of scary fog. And this right here, this visual, it just lays out the problem perfectly. The world we live in, our schools, our jobs, it's all built on that sequential model on the left. 1, then 2, then 3. But for so many of us, our brain works like the model on the right. We see the start, we see the finish, but the path connecting them is a total tangle. This brings us to what we're calling the foggy middle problem. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's that deep, fundamental mismatch between a brain that thinks in this beautiful web of interconnected ideas and a world that demands we move forward in a straight, predictable line. So what's actually going on inside that fog? Well, a big part of it is something called cognitive overload. Now, this isn't about not seeing the steps. Oh no, you see them. The problem is you see them all at once, and every single tiny little subtask, from find the right file to finish the report, is screaming at you with the exact same maximum volume. It makes trying to prioritize anything feel completely impossible. And all that cognitive overload, it builds up into something even bigger, a really intense internal barrier. It's often called the wall of awful, and it leads directly to something you might know all too well, task paralysis. This quote is so incredibly important because it flips the whole script on what inaction looks like. To someone on the outside, it might seem like you're procrastinating, or worse, that you're being lazy. But on the inside, it's an exhausting, full-on battle just trying to find one single thread to pull on in an impossibly tangled knot. So let's break down this internal experience. First, you hit that wall of awful, where a tiny step feels just as massive as the entire project. That leads straight into task paralysis, where your brain literally just freezes, completely unable to start. And what happens next? The shame cycle kicks in, where you start telling yourself you're broken or lazy because you can't do these simple things. It's a brutal loop. And here's the thing, this intense internal struggle doesn't just stay in your head. It spills out into the real world and creates this huge communication breakdown in our relationships, with our family, our partners, even our coworkers. We call it the Great Translation Gap. This table shows you exactly what that language barrier looks like. A linear thinker says something simple like, get ready for school, but the web brain hears a massive, chaotic storm of 15 different tasks all at once. Or they'll say, just make a list, not getting that making a linear list is the exact skill the brain is having trouble with. It's like two people trying to have a conversation in completely different languages. And the fallout from this gap is real. It leads to chronic stress in the home and at work. The linear thinker feels like they have to constantly nag, while the nonlinear thinker feels totally misunderstood and criticized all the time. Over time, that friction can do some serious damage to our most important relationships. Okay, but what if there was a translator? What if there was something that could bridge that gap? Well, this is where technology, specifically AI, is starting to become a real game changer. It's emerging as this incredible tool that can act like an external brain, one that translates all that internal chaos into simple, linear clarity. The really key idea here is thinking of AI as an external executive function. So we're not just talking about a calendar app or a to-do list that just holds information for you. We're talking about a genuine prosthetic for your brain, something that actively does the organizing and sequencing for you. It takes the chaos and makes it linear. So how does it actually do that? Well, think of it in 3 key roles. First, it's your middle manager. You just give it step 1 and your visionary step 10, and it instantly builds that bridge, filling in all the steps in between. Second, it's a compass. Using your phone's camera, it can literally look at a messy room and say, okay, the very next physical thing to do is pick up that cup. And third, it's a judgment-free guide. You can ask it to explain a step 50 times, and it will never, ever get frustrated or tired. And all of this leads to a really powerful and frankly liberating shift in how we approach this. The goal isn't about trying to force a nonlinear brain to become linear anymore. It's a total paradigm shift, from trying to fix yourself to actually freeing yourself. Just let that sink in for a second. Stop trying to fix your brain. It was never broken in the first place. It just runs on a different operating system.
And instead, start outsourcing the struggle. Start delegating that really hard, exhausting part, the step-by-step sequencing, to a tool that's designed to do it effortlessly. This quote really nails the endgame here. The whole point is to free up your mental energy so you can do what your web brain does best: create, innovate, and live in that amazing visionary Step 10 space. You let the machine handle the boring work of building the bridge to get you there. So I want to leave you with this question. Just imagine for a moment all the energy you spend fighting that fog, battling that paralysis, and dealing with that shame cycle. What could you do? What could you build? What could you create if all of that energy was yours again? Because you never had to build that bridge yourself ever again.